You know me, I don't need no introduction. You know me, I don't need no introduction and shit. You know me, I don't need no introduction and shit.
What's up, everybody?
This is your man 702 Exotic. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to watch another video like this.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This is your man 702 Exotic, and we back in the building. Back at you with another live, and we're gonna be chilling today. We're gonna kick back. We're gonna rock that seat back just a little bit, and we're gonna post up, right? We're gonna post up nice. And we're going to chill with y'all, man. We're going to fire up a few little things. And we're going to talk about some things. That's what we're going to do today. So we just going to chill. Again, this is our call-in show. You see the number up here, 702-530-2750. Call that number. I encourage y'all. Hit the line. Check to see if it works, right? Hit me up. I got it open right here. We'll pop y'all in, see if it works, see if everything's good. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna see if I can get someone to call in, so that way we can get some callers or something like that, right? And got a few little things over here that we just, could talk about. Meanwhile, but again, it'll be fun, man. I'm telling y'all, call in. These call-in shows, man, it's going to be very interesting once they get popping. We could tell a bunch of stories. We could tell anything you guys got going on, right? We can go ahead and talk about that. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yes, sir. My man Scotty 420 in the building. Yes, he is. Scotty 420, what it do, champ? We need those callers. We need people to call in, talk about what you guys got going on. All that stuff. We need all that, right? So today, we're going to talk just a little bit about how it all started, right? How the 702 Exotic brand started, how we got popping, and what we did here in Vegas. I feel like it's very, very necessary to talk about the very, very starts of everything, right? Because that's what got us here at this point, right? Got us the knowledge and everything that we built along the way. And I don't think I talk about that enough. I've always been inside the growing style, everything about the growing style of it, right? As far as like teaching you guys how to grow. I've been, pretty much talking about the plant, right? But ever since we got the strike, we're going to switch it up a little bit, and, kind of switch gears in the way we work the channel. It's more, you guys know how to grow the plant already. It's plenty of people out there teaching you how to grow the plant. If you guys really want to learn if you guys are struggling and stuff like that, you guys can always contact me too, man. I can help you guys out, coach you guys, and I ain't going to charge you a damn thing. You know what I mean? All on the strizzing while I got time, right? So I feel like my beginnings and stuff like that is where it all boils down to, right? So it all started for me. One time I was in the backyard. We was hustling at that time. We were going to California at that time, picking up elbows and bringing them back here, and that's how we were, working. So one time I had a mushroom trip. And I'm sitting there in my balcony, man, just chilling. And I'm tripping on these mushrooms, right? And I'm looking at the weed and everything. And I'm like, damn, man, why don't we just start growing this shit? I'm like, we drive so far to go get it. I'm like, we need to start growing it, man. We need to somehow find a way we can start growing it. So I pictured myself, in this mushroom trip that I was having. And I'm just like, damn. Holy cow, I'm tripping balls, right? Hella tripping. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, if we can somehow find a way to grow it, right? We can like minimize all this going to California, the logistics part of it. So we ended up starting to finding out ways. That same night, I remember watching a video, and it was that green guy on YouTube, right? It was a green guy, Mr. Chronic. I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Chronic. Let me see if I could pull him up. It was a green dude called Mr. Chronic. Mr. Chronic on YouTube, right? And he would like, that was the only thing that they had back in the day, like things like that, right? Was a green guy called Mr. Chronic. And I can't find it for real, right? There it is. So let me see if I could save that image and then come over here. So see if I could pull him up, Mr. Chronic. All right. So if I go here, go to overlays and come over here, new image overlay, and bring up Mr. Chronic. Y'all remember this guy right here, right? This guy right here, Mr. Chronic, right? Mr. Chronic, this guy right here was the guy how I learned how to grow. I literally, like, I watched this same video right here probably about 100 times. Yo, I'm not even gonna lie. But not like that night though, but it was almost like where any question I had, I would go back to the video, right? Any question I had, I'd go back to the video. And I'm not gonna lie, that right there helped me out through like majority of everything that I needed to go to and do. That right there helped me out through everything. This Mr. Chronic video, and I think it's still on YouTube to this day. I think it's still up. And that was the origins of how I actually started. And I just kind of pulled the trigger, you know. It was one of those things where it was like, well, I'm gonna just start. And I started exactly like Mr. Chronic with the Mylar and everything. But I remember I started like that, but real quickly I turned into like a tent. And I remember it was a 2x2 or something small. And it was a gorilla tent, so it was tall. And I remember my first grow, it was so amazing. It was just beautiful. I like hit it out the ballpark. It was just amazing. It was some Granddaddy Perp at that time. Some AK-47. Because he was growing AK-47 inside those. Mr. Chronic was growing AK-47 seeds, so I looked for some, had to be AK-47. And I remember to germinate, I remember the first time I germinated some seeds were some bag seeds, just to see if like I can get them off. And they all germinated, were planted, and I had killed them off. They would have been real good, but excuse me. But yeah, that was pretty much the origins of how we ended up started, right? It all started with a dream. It all started with just a trip in the balcony, tripping out on some mushrooms, and pretty much got the great idea. I visualized everything, almost where it's like, if you think about it, if it wouldn't have been without that vision, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys at this time right now, you know. And it's crazy because that's what I actually love to do. And they say, you know, you gotta love what you do, and I preach that to the max. You gotta love what you do. And a lot of things we do, it's like we don't get compensated for a lot of the things that we do, but we love to do it. So it's a hobby being here talking about this in front of you guys. Hopefully one day it might pay off, but hey, you know, that's not really what we're here for. We're here for the genetics. We're here for the people. We're here to grow all that. Everything will come later, right? And that's how we started. At first, that's how we really started. We really started because logistics, you know, we were like, man, we can really start growing this stuff. And then we fell in love. We fell in love with everything. I remember at that time, we were even listening to different music. We started listening to like Tribal Seeds and a whole bunch of other stuff. We really went deep in the culture, you know what I mean? even so far so that I had long hair at that time. Like I even let my hair grow out, you know. My hair was growing out. We were really into the culture, as we are today too. But I remember when I got busted, I had to get a job. So I was like, you know, man, I can't go get a job with my hair like this. So that's the only reason. I was actually gonna have dreadlocks. That's what I was really gonna have. You know, I would have had long dreadlocks right now if I would have just kept growing my hair. But you know, I had to cut it, and that's what we were growing. We were just growing to let it lock up, you know? And that's the origins right there. That's the origins back in the day on how it all started. And the early YouTube era, right? Let's step into, that's another topic I got a bunch of topics right here written down. And I'm gonna keep, you know, looking at them that way I'm not all over the place, you know? But the early YouTube era, man, it was old school. We had a lot of YouTubers back in the day that started, and very few are still here today. Very, very few are still here today. I don't know why, you know, a lot of YouTubers left, but they did. A lot of YouTubers left, man. They just stopped growing. Other things happened for them, but the space in the YouTube era now, I would say, is you got to come with more, right? You got to come with more. It's very hard to just do, you know, back in the day, you know, when I had my channels and stuff like that, you know, we all got taken down. We would just show what we had, right? It wasn't about what type of visuals, thumbnails, and it was really just a knit community that we used to grow together. And it was crazy because, like, back in the day, think about hindsight, it's like everybody who was on YouTube back in the day was really doing stuff. It was more like networking type. But thinking about it, it's like we were crazy for doing that back in the day because I know I was moving. I was moving at that time. I was moving, you know, a bunch of weight at that time, and I was still doing YouTube, you know? It's like we didn't care, man. We just we used to just pump content. We used to pump content, and that was the early YouTube era. The early YouTube era was more uncensored, and it was monetized. I remember people would get monetized from weed stuff, you know? Like if you mad numbers, if you did numbers, I still have $100 held up on another channel that I can't get. From one of my old YouTube channels. But I never showed my face even back then. So even then, I always stayed anonymous. You know what I mean? I never liked the. It's a very cool thing to be able to be around people and they don't even know who you are, right? It's a very cool thing. So the anonymous is very, very good. It's good to stay anonymous. And especially in the YouTube eras, it was all about being anonymous. No one showed their face. I remember when Mr. Grower showed his face, you know? I remember when everyone showed their face. The big reveal, right? When everyone had a big reveal. I never, to this day, I still don't show my face. You know, no one knows how I look. A lot of people know how I look, but not that many people know how I look, you know? And yeah, man, that's the early days of YouTube work, right? And my first camera and setup, let's go to the next one. My first camera and setup was a phone. It was when the phones was first starting coming out, but I did also have the Nikon 7100, and at that time was ahead of its time. And I remember I used to shoot videos with the Nikon 7100, close-up shots. I had a macro lens, and we would macro a lot of night shots, go out to cups and film all type of stuff. I still have a lot of film from back then. And that's what we used to film with, was a Nikon 7100. That was my very first, and I traded 1 ounce for it. I remember we used to get it from this guy. It's probably 100% stolen, but you know, you're the weed guy, so they bring you all type of stuff, right? Hey, I got this, I got this, I got that. So the Nikon 7100 fit right in with what I was doing. So it was a good deal for me. The dude, and it came with a bag, it came with batteries, it came with everything, even with family photos. I ain't even gonna lie, man. It was a crazy time back then, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's how that's how it was, man.
Hey, yo,
you know what I mean?
Sure, watch out for fake, cause this shit that we sell is illegal.
It was illegal, man. It was illegal. when we first started, you know. But yeah, that was the camera. That was the camera setup we first started with. We started with a Nikon 7100, you know, and then after that was the next step, meeting the first group of content creators. I remember we all met with a bunch of content creators. It was a cool thing. It was a different experience, to say the least, right? Meeting everybody you met online, because it's like, you know, it's just crazy. People act online a certain way, right? But then when you meet them, it's like, it's different, right? It's not, it's like, you notice how, like, you know, you know, I've been in the YouTube space for a very long time. Anybody who's been in the YouTube space knows when you get together in functions how it is. So I ain't got to explain to nobody who's been in it. But if you want to know a little bit more, call in, man. Call in. The number is right there, right? Call in. Call in. And we could talk about it. Let's make this a call-in show. And right now, get it while it's early, man. Get it while it's early, because sometimes it's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to call in. We're going to be able to have 50 callers at one point. Watch, I'm telling you. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep grinding it. We're going to keep building it all the way to the top. And that's what we do with everything, right? And what we working on now is this show right here. Because this show right here is going to be entertaining. It's for the people. It's going to be for everybody, right? And we're going to do it probably, I would hope to do it every day, right? That's what I would hope to do these shows every day. Get you guys through your day. You guys can come home, talk about what you guys did in the garden, what kind of deals you guys did. You know, keep it discreet. You know, we'll keep everything anonymous. You know what I mean? So let's talk a little bit more. That was about when we met all the OGs, when we met everybody, all the new rising YouTube people back in the day, right? What we call it before the Great Purge, right? Before the Great YouTube Purge, when everybody got knocked off, that was those times right there. And it's crazy because I don't really hear people getting deleted off of YouTube anymore like that. It's all Instagram. Now you get deleted off of Instagram. But I had so many YouTube channels get deleted. Just showing plants. That's it. We weren't talking about nothing. We just showing plants. And now it's changed. They made it to where it's like, okay, we're not going to delete you, but we're not going to pay you. So that's right. But back then, this is another thing I have, how we built momentum before the algorithm, right? Before the algorithm existed as we know today, right? The algorithm was built different back then. People were more accessible. You know, now it's hard to find people. There's a lot of underground people who are doing great things and who are consistent with their work, but just don't get found like they used to back in the day, right? It used to be a lot easier to be found back in the day in the YouTube space. Not like that no more. It changed a lot. A lot of those things changed a lot. You know, the algorithm, you know, has a lot to do with all that, right? And then early collaborations. I remember the early collaborations before we started meeting with people. Those were very, very good too as well, because that's how we were able to connect at functions before we met the big meetings, right? And before we met those people, you know, it's all about pumping out good videos, pumping out honest videos, being real, right? I feel like not playing a character that you ain't, right? You want to play the same character, you want to be the same person that you are in real life, right? Because there's a lot of people who play a character online, but then when you meet them in real life, they're not that people, so you disappoint a lot of people. And that's what happens a lot in the grow space, because, you know, you portray as a certain type of person, and then when you meet them, you're like, oh man, this guy's not smiling. He ain't this, he ain't that, and you expect everybody to smile all the time, right? Because that's what the picture you portray. You're always smiling and I'm so nice, and then when they meet you, you're a normal person. And they're like, hey, this ain't it, right? So that's another thing, you know, playing the same person that you really are right there, and networking, making friends, networking. That's what we did in the cups right there. That's what we did. Once we meet the people, then we met the
the plugs because they see the people you with, right? So then they give you special deals, special prices, special backdoor entrances, special sneak peek previews of shit they working on, right? Things they got in the vaults, you know, stuff like that. You know, you get the access, you know. Other accesses that other people don't get, right? That's another thing. Again, this is a call-in show. Y'all go ahead and call in. So, and then the group we had, everybody, you know, went their separate ways at this point. You know, later on, everybody just went their separate ways and stuff like that. Some people ended up getting big. Some people just fell off all the way. But I ended up seeing other people not too long ago. Met some people, and yeah, man, that's the story, you know, back in the day. And then the times that it all fell apart was around 2013, and I remember like it was yesterday. Right, we're gonna go make a delivery. You got a backpack on. I remember it was hot that day. And I went to go warm up the car. So go outside, put the backpack in the car, right? Turn the car on. And I remember I put the AC on, went back in the house. Came back like 5 minutes later, and they were outside. Boom. And I was like, damn. And next thing you know, all they really just say is, all right, look, we're going to make it easy for you. If we can come inside and there's nothing in there, then we'll just let you go, right? Well, that wasn't going to happen, you know. Inside wasn't something you could just flush down the toilet. You know what I mean? So I knew I was fucked. I was like, damn, I'm fucked. So I remember I'm like, okay, cool. What am I going to do? I got this whole house is full of plants. I got DEA outside. Like 15 guys that look like bikers and shit. And I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm donezo. So pretty much I go inside and I say, hey, look, can I grab my my license? I got everything. Everything's legal. He's like, yeah, sure. I go inside, close the door. Boom, don't lie. I go in there and just talk to everybody. Say, hey, look, man, shit's going down right now. I'm about to go. Don't worry. I'm going to take everything. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's what happened. I go in. And this is 2012, 2013, just right when it went legal and everything. And they didn't care about none of the license. They didn't care about nothing. They just hit you with the federal. It's still federal. It's still federal. It's still federally legal. So that's what they ended up hitting you with, no matter these state licenses or whatever. They're just the feds come in, they come in. And I was down, man. I was down for like, I ended up doing a year for that. That's what the time I did. And when I got out, it was perfectly legal. Like, everybody, I went to jail for something that's legal. And that was the only way to get people's medicine. It's not like I was selling to the streets. I was on delivery service on Weed Maps. Shout out to Weed Maps, man. They were legit the doers at that time. We couldn't do it. Was impossible without them. But that's how we ended. You know, you were gonna get caught regardless. It's just, you know, we had a good time while it lasted. Those were the golden times, yo. The greatest times that we will never get back, you know. And I'm just glad that I lived through those times to be able to be out there and hustle through those times. And God, you can't. It's so much money, yo, that was just flowing through our hands at that point. And it was just real, you know. The streets relied on us, depended on us. We had a lot of people depending on us, you know, to bring in good, high quality products. Our name was everything, you know. I remember if they knew that they were calling me, they're gonna get like, it was no questions. They wouldn't look at it, none of that. They would just, and that's where I felt like I had the responsibility to be able to go look at stuff, you know, quality control stuff, to make sure that if it's gonna leave with me, it's gonna be able to move, you know. And I would tell people, like, just straight up, like, hey, look, man, this stuff ain't gonna move from my clientele, because I have a very, very, very strict clientele. I had a very strict clientele, you know. very, very strict. And I think a lot of that was because the way I used to do it, right? The way I used to do it, I used to get a pound at that time, $2,000, right? And I would break it down, right? But I used to get multiple pounds, like, 10 at a time. But besides the stuff that I was growing, that shit would go quick, and I'd have to re-up on at least 10 pounds. When I'd pick up those, I'd pick them up for $2,000 a piece, right? And I would sell them in ounces and ounces and ounces. Very rare what I would sell the pounds, because that's really people who got hundreds of pounds, and I didn't have that. I didn't have only was tens, 20, tens and 20s. It's the way I moved, and I would break those down into ounces, quarter pounds, and all that. So you got to think of the clientele that I had was pretty much really either sophisticated people who had money, and when the people I used to sell, they wouldn't really break it down. They would smoke it for themselves. Like, it would be connects that are buying high end weed for me, because at that time $200 was high end weed. You can get ounces still for $150 and stuff like that if you knew the right people back then. It was more about the quality of the herb that you had is what really set the price. But people would get like 3-4 ounces off me, but my prices would never budge. 200 all the way up, So they would get a quarter pound, you know what I mean, and that's it, Like, I wouldn't like to sell pounds like of my stuff. Nah, that's not really what I would do, especially with the delivery services and stuff like that. Really, people wouldn't. Excuse me. Yeah, man. So at that time, let's move on. The loyalty and the consistency was everything, right? Because loyalty was everything from you, your partners, and everybody. Anybody you had working for you, or just working with you, or, doing business with you, all that had to be kept locked, right? And that was good. And the consistency had to be there, right? You had to be consistent. You had to be, ready at all times, because if you're going to do anything, you got to do it at a maximum pace, right? The best you can do it. If that's what you're going to do, you got to do it for sure. You got to be good with your money. You got to be good with your connection making. You got to keep checking up on people. Keep checking up on the plug, making sure he's good. If not, always have a backup. Always making connections for the next one. Stacking up new plugs on top of that. Right? That's what we used to do. So that consistency is going to help you with that, right? Just being consistent. If that's what you're doing, you got to do it for sure. You got to do it for real, right? That's another thing. What I would do different, I got to say what I would do different is not network with such of the bigger people that I network with. Because I used to think just because someone was famous and big, they were cool. No. You still have to get to know them, man. Don't just think because someone is big or at the level, they're not going to do you wrong. I've always said the people that's done me wrong is the people that were at the higher levels. And that's because I always let my guard down at that point, right? You let your guard down with the people that you think that ain't going to do it. Like, oh, he's not going to do it. He's got money, right? He's a successful person. He's got a lot of things going for himself. He wouldn't do that. Well, that's what I always said. And that's where I always got most of the time. But I've got a lot of times, right? When you're in the business, shit happens. You can't always predict how this business goes, right? So that was who inspired me? Man, my inspiration, man. as far as this, probably be my pops. You know, my dad was he had a green thumb, man. My dad was involved in the people who worked on creating black roses, you know, in California back in the day. I think it was like in the 80s. Sometime back then, they were creating black roses. And the way they picked him out was he had the highest cloning success rate and out of his whole squad and everything. So he was able to clone the best. He had the highest cloning success rate in his whole squad. So that's how he was able to get that job, and that's how he's able to, you know, work on that project. And that's what my biggest inspiration is, my pops. I remember the first thing I ever grew was an eggplant. An eggplant was you know, I remember just seeing the black eggplant, and I was like, what the heck is it? What are we growing? I didn't know. I don't remember eating it either, but I was real small, and I took care of that eggplant, grew the eggplant. It was pretty cool. I remember that was the first thing I ever grew, and my biggest inspiration was my pops. And even in when I was small, he would always work in agriculture. My grandpa worked in agriculture. He used to grow a lot of sugar cane in Mexico, in Jalisco, and in Ameca, Jalisco. And he would had a sugar cane field. You know, when I was small, we used to play on top of the truck loaded up. It was full of sugar cane, and we just up there all day just eating sugar canes, you know, until our stomach hurt. And that was my biggest inspiration, really, just my pops, you know. He was a good man up until he started doing a lot of drugs out there, and unfortunately took over him. And that's why I don't really do that stuff like that. No hard drugs or nothing like that, because it's not good for your mental, you know. So that was my biggest inspiration besides that. And how the culture changed, man. The culture changed a lot on YouTube, you know. It's like more entertainment now instead of showing. I feel like we all follow like kind of a cookie cutter type thing, right? You know. And I'm not saying I'm any different, right? Because all I know is talking about what I did. But in the same fashion, you know, we got to adapt, right? We can't change things if that's the way they are now, right? So we just kind of got to go with the flow, right? We got to go with the flow and just watch how things evolve, right? Watch how things evolve and try to fit in where it goes if you're in the space. Because, you know, I've been doing YouTube for a long time too, but it's something where it's like I've worked a lot too, where I can't dedicate all my time to YouTube because I do a lot of working too. So like I work a lot, and it takes a lot to be able to be here doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. I wish I could do this every single day, all day, but you know, I work a lot now. So I remember when we didn't work, you know, we used to do a lot of content. That's all we ever did, is just a bunch of content. And then my message to the next generation or creator would be, is just stay active, right? 1, stay active, right? Number 2, just be yourself, right? Stay active, be yourself, and create. Even if you don't post it or whatever, just record it, right? Record what you're doing. You might get that little snippet, use it later. If you have a full storage, get an SD drive, put your pictures up, do something. You gotta do something. But don't make nothing an excuse. Don't make nothing an excuse. That's what I would say to the next content creator and the next generation. Really be yourself. Shoot. Record, right? Shoot, record, all that. And don't be afraid to post. Don't be afraid to post, because everybody's nervous at their first time. Everyone, it's very normal, right? I remember when I first hit my first button, man, when I was going to press record, I was so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going live, right? But now it's just like, what's up, guys? How y'all doing? What's going on? 702 Exotic. Make sure you hit that like
This is your
button,
man,
right?
702 Exotic. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to watch another video like this.
I remember when I first started, I couldn't even use the buttons. Like, I couldn't use none of these buttons at all. Now it's like,
You know me. I don't need no introduction and shit.
you know what I mean? So at first we couldn't do nothing. Now it's so that's why I tell people, man, just start somewhere, learn somewhere, and you'll get it down. You'll get it down. And then where's 702 Exotic heading? We're heading to new directions to just make more strains. We're headed to new directions to make more strains. You know, cultivars, whatever you want to call it. But strains is what we're working on. New things as far as like you know, new hotness. And I'm not talking about like, oh, let's get the best hype strains that there is right now. No. We're talking about fire. So if it's fire, we're going to try to work with it. But I have to physically see it, though. I can't go off a name. I have to physically see it. Can't go off a name. Right. And then another thing we got to talk about, too, is... let me see here. How we got most of our plugs. Again, we talked about that. And that was through going to cups and stuff like that. I remember when we wanted to build connections and plugs and all that stuff, we ended up going to cannabis cups. That's how we ended up getting majority of our connections right there. And that was a way for us to go down to places and look at stuff, smell stuff. And it was a place where, I don't know if it's like that right now, though. I really don't know if it's like that right now. But it used to be like that. That's how it used to be. It used to be where they just had a bunch of vendors, even in Cali's too. Sometimes you would find a vendor in California, like the pop-ups and sessions and stuff like that. But mostly they'd try to hit you over the head if they had some fire. Because there was a lot of people who didn't have a lot of fire in there. So it was like everything was just normal. And that one person who really had that fire then would charge people. You know what I mean? So they really... And when I mean charge people, it's like 25, 26, 27 for a pound, right? That's a lot. 27 for a pound was a lot back then. When we was trying to get the units for like 22, 2,000... Shit, if it was really, 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 really good, then we'd pay 24, right? But if you get multiple, you could probably get away with 18, something like that, right? Something like that. Maybe 18, but for the most part, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that in some of these places that you went, like we thought it was, right? Cause we used to think it was. You just go down there, boom, 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 boom. Nah. So yeah, we paid 24 tops, and then break it. Like I said, we break them down 200 a zip. Yeah. Talked about the early YouTube collaborations. Again, man, it's a call-in show. Make sure y'all call that number right there. If y'all don't want to call in today, then we can call in maybe some next time. But this is your man, 702 Exotic. We're going to end it right here. Till the next time, y'all. Peace.